The hand that we're holding the call with, we're going to refer to as our on hand. Now, our other hand is what we call our off hand. Our off hand is just as important as our on hand. Even though this is the hand that holds the call, this is the hand that's going to give us the goose tone, and it's going to direct our sound towards the geese or towards the direction we're wanting to call. What we want to do with our off hand is you want to cup your hand almost like you're trying to hold water, or you're trying to create the largest inside area. And what I like to do is I like to take my fingers and I want to basically make all my fingertips right there together, even. Because what this is going to do is if we have our fingers kind of, off level, then we're not really cupping our hands properly. But if we kind of line our fingertips up, then we're going to be creating a very deep hollow pocket in the palm of our hand basically. And I like to take my fingertips and lay them right on my knuckles. Now remember, our knuckles are arced up because of that imaginary golf ball we've got. And I like to take my fingertips and I like to line them right up on my knuckles. On the back side of my hand, I like to create a shape that basically eliminates any gaps or holes, because I don't want any holes on the back side of my hand because I want all that sound to go out. I don't want to have my hand cocked like this to where the sound comes back at me, because like I said, we're trying to maximize our volume direction, so when those geese are several hundred yards out or half a mile, they're going to be able to hear us. So I don't want to go deaf, so I want to make sure that all that sound is going away, so I want to eliminate any holes or gaps on the back side of my hand. Now what I want to do now is explain why I've got my hand placement the way I do. One of the biggest issues that a lot of guys encounter is when they pick up a goose call, they want to lay their hands on top of their on hand. They just take the off hand and just kind of slap it on there. This causes a couple problems. One is, remember, we're keeping our fingers arced up for a reason. And if I just slap my hand on top of my on hand, then as I start blowing this call, I'm probably going to get tense because I'm exerting a lot of air, I'm getting into it, and my body's going to tense up, my hands are going to tense up. And what's happening is the more I tense up, these fingers are pushing these fingers down. And that's the exact opposite of what we want. We want to keep those fingers arced up. So what I like to do is, instead of slapping my hand on top of my on hand and pushing those fingers down, I'm going to pull those fingers back and I'm going to put them right at the edge of those knuckles. Now what I'm doing is I can get as tense as I want and I can blow the heck out of this call, and the more tense I get, I'm actually creating a support and keeping those fingers arced up. Plus, by me pulling my hand back, remember, we're trying to curate the largest inside area as possible, and by keeping my fingers on the edge of my knuckles, I'm extending that distance. So instead of being a lot smaller right here, I'm opening it up to where I've got a lot more inside area with the inside of my hands. This is going to be very important for creating very deep, hollow goose tones, very rich in sound. So what you want to do is you want to practice proper hand placement. Like I said, this is the hand placement that works great for me. If you find something that works better for you, then by all means go for it. But the idea is, before we even move on to the next step of blowing the goose call, you want to be able to pick that call up and have exact proper hand placement every time. This is very, very important, because if you have different hand placement, if your hand placement is not consistent, your mouth mechanics might be correct, your air presentation might be correct, but you're getting different sounds. And those different sounds might be coming from, you might be choked too much on the call, you might be too open, and it's going to cause some problems, and you might have a little trouble troubleshooting where those problems are coming from. So make sure you practice proper hand placement. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to take the goose call and I'm going to just pick it up, put it to my mouth, and when I know that I'm not, always adjusting, trying to get it figured out, that means I'm consistent and I'm ready to move on to the next step. So before you move on, make sure you practice proper hand placement so that way you're consistent.